What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Well, welcome if it's your first time here. Well, guys, I've been trying to come up with a good video topic for the last about a day and a half now. And, you know, after you do so many videos, it gets difficult to come up with a new video topic that you think people will like to watch and listen to. I mean, I could go online and look at news and read news like a lot of channels do, and I do that here sometimes too. But that gets kind of boring to me, just going through and reading news, and I'm sure it does to you all, even though some creators have a lot of success with that, like, you know, Tim Pool does that a lot. It's about every video he's doing that, and Alaska Prepper does that and seems to do well, so those are popular, and it seems that people like those type videos. However, I like to do some of those, but I like to mix it up. I like to do some videos sitting here in my truck, some in my office, some walking around, some, you know, different places, different locations, to keep it interesting, because if you're making videos and the people watching the video aren't interested and they're bored, they click off and don't come back and watch, and that's not good for the channel overall. But I've been trying to come up with a video topic, like I said, and I was thinking about this. I left this morning and I had some errands to run. I had to go to the post office and do some few things. I went and done those, and I was coming back and I stopped at this convenience store. And I don't go in this store much at all. I will go in there maybe 3 times a year. And it's a convenience store that sells gasoline. They have, you know, beer in there, soft drinks and some chips and things like that in there. Some little convenience store, a Creekmore type thing. So I stop there and I get out and go in, and the person working behind the counter, I'm looking at that person and I'm like, is this a boy or is this a girl? Is this a male or a female? Because I couldn't tell. They had a feminine skin, no facial hair whatsoever, and had a girl's haircut, and it was like folded over to one side, short in the back, longer on the top, folded over to one side, and it was like a pinkish purple color. And I still wasn't sure if it was a male or female, and actually I'm still not sure which way that it actually was. So I'm looking and trying to figure this out. So I go up there to pay for what I was going to get, and it sounded kind of like a guy, but it looked more like a girl. And I looked to see if he had any breast. No, flat chested as could be. That doesn't mean that it was, you know, a guy still yet. It could have still been a flat chested girl, or could have had surgery or something like that to take those off, and who knows at this point. But I was looking at that and I was thinking, how divided is this country? Now, it used to be in this location, you would have never saw anything like that. Because when people saw someone, some people saw someone that looked like that, you know, a few years ago, they would have been like, and they've been laughing right to their face. But now it doesn't happen, because people are afraid to say anything or do anything, actually, because they're afraid of being labeled a bigot or something like that. And people should be allowed to live the way they want to live. I'm not saying that. But it just goes to show, at least it does to me, how wide the divide is. Used to be here, people were, you know, we had some political differences. However, it wasn't nearly as obvious as it is now. It's gotten so, the divide has gotten so wide now that it's obvious when you look and see a person. You can tell pretty much how their political views, their religious views, what they actually are, just by looking at these people. And they can do the same by looking at us, people on the right, because we all have, you know, a certain look. But that's how wide the divide is, that it's actually coming out in visual when you can just pass by and see someone. And like I said, used to be here in most United States, it was, you had Democrats and Republicans, you had one political view, another political view, you had different religions, but everyone pretty much got along. But now, the divide has been widened so much that there's really no middle ground. You know, you had one side here, another side here, and they were pretty close. But now, I mean, they're way apart. And the people are so divided on so many different levels that, in my opinion, there's no middle ground. There's no coming together. There's no president, even though they promise this every time. Elect me and I will be the great uniter and not the great divider. And it's always the opposite. When they go in, always more division. Obama said that, if you remember. And when he went in, race issues were actually pretty good in this country. People were getting along pretty awesome, actually. Black people, white people, everyone was getting along. I mean, there's always a few, but overall, the race issues was pretty much like it was a thing of the past. Obama goes in for 8 years, was supposed to be the great uniter because he was half white and half black. And it was the opposite. He was the great divider. He caused more division, more racism. That's when he had all the Black Lives Matter and everything that's all started up. More division. Because they want to divide people on every issue. Because they can divide people on every issue, it makes those people more easily to conquer and control. And we see everyone being divided by skin color, by religion, by their location, by their states that they live in, by their counties they live in. You know, like you'll have Tennessee and Kentucky, you'll have Tennessee and Florida having rivalries over football and things, but that's nothing really to worry about, and that's okay. I'm not really talking about that. But they do everything they can through the mainstream media, through the politicians, to divide everyone they can in every way they can to make the population in general more weaker, more easily to control, more easily to conquer. If you have a military, but you're looking at a more powerful military, and that military, the one you're looking to conquer, is more powerful than you are, you're saying, how can I make that military more weaker so they can be conquered more easily? And the easiest way to do it is to divide that military up into smaller sections and attack each smaller section, or get each section to actually fight in amongst themselves and weaken themselves. And that's what you're doing to the population of the United States. On every level, race, white folks, black folks, Hispanics, white folks, Hispanics, black folks. We have Catholics, we have Baptists, we have Muslims, we have Christians, we have Jewish people, we have people coming across the border. They're causing more division there because the people that's already here, the citizens, are seeing what's happening with the border crossings, and they're seeing the crime and things, and they're making a huge divide right there. They're dividing on everything. Political views, abortion. There's not an actual important viewpoint that they haven't used to divide the population. And it's getting worse. It's getting more and more divided. And that's easy to see. When you can go out, you can just look at someone and pretty much know how they stand, what they believe in as far as right or left politically and things. It sounds bad, but it's just the truth. I mean, you can look at someone and see pretty quick what their thought process is, which side they're on as far as their political, religious views and things go. It's not difficult. Sometimes you might make a mistake. I mean, it's possible someone can look a certain way and you have preconceived notions, but that's not good either. But overall, you can tell what someone is by looking at them and how they believe. For example, I saw someone about probably a year and a half ago in another convenience store. It's a different one, actually. It was a guy who had on a dress. So by looking at that more than likely he's not going to be conservative, or she or it or whatever it is. So you can tell pretty much by first impressions. But their divide, like I said, is so far apart that eventually they're going to cause this country to split up into different sections, because a country divided cannot stand. I have some quotes here that I wrote down. The first one is from Benjamin Franklin. We must all hang together, or most assuredly we shall all hang separately. Benjamin Franklin. A nation divided against itself cannot stand. Sam Houston. And Jesus knew their thoughts, and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And that is Matthew 12:25. It's obvious what this is going to lead into. this country is so divided, the divide is so wide, that eventually, in my opinion, it's going to, you're seeing some of that now, but it's going to completely split up into smaller sections and balkanize. It just about has to, because of the divide. The belief systems are so radically different on different sides. It will split up eventually. It may lead to violence first. More than likely, it probably will. What people have been calling a civil war, it could be more like a revolution, and we could have different parts of the country split up for different people. And I think that's what's going to happen, because the divide is so wide that there's no way that these people are going to be brought together to be able to live in harmony, because the divide is just so wide. No common ground whatsoever, and no one's going to give up any ground, because everyone thinks they are correct. And we know who's correct. I mean, think about it. But you have the other side that also thinks they're correct. And you have different factions of different groups. It's just so divided on every level that it's obvious that at some point in the future, balkanization in the United States is going to happen, and it's going to split up into smaller regions. And you may have those smaller regions having war against other regions for resources. I mean, most likely that's what it will be like. Hopefully I'm completely wrong. I don't know how long it's going to take, but if you look at the divide right now, it is horrendous. If you look at the political divide, if you look at right now, you have this presidential election that's coming up, and you have Donald Trump on one side, and you have Harris on the other side. And the belief system of the supporters of Harris versus Trump are radically different. Even though the politicians have more in common than what you would think, actually, but the people supporting each side are far divided, and the people is what counts. The divide is so wide, there's no way they're going to come together in a middle ground and live in harmony together. It's just too wide. So the obvious thing, the obvious outcome to all this divide is the country being split up into smaller sections. And the government, or leaders, have done this division on purpose to keep us weaker, so it'll be more easily to control, more easily to maneuver into doing certain things. But it's going to come back eventually and bite our leaders in the ass, in my opinion, because when the country has major issues like economic collapse, that's going to cause the divide to even widen more, and it's going to cause more and more violence, and the country could definitely split up, because the dollar pretty much holds this country together right now, and the dollar is crashing. I mean, if you look at what's coming and you think about it logically, it's pretty easy to see what the eventual outcome more than likely will be, because no matter who gets elected, if Donald Trump gets elected, if Harris gets elected or appointed, the divide is just going to widen even more. The violence is going to erupt even more. So it's easy to see. It really is, guys. I think anyway. I could be totally wrong. But to me, it seems obvious what the outcome is going to be. A country that's going to balkanize, it's going to split up into different regions where you have different people with different belief systems living in different places. You may have people with different skin colors living in different places, different political views. I mean, there'll probably be some overlap, obviously, in some of these areas and locations. We see some now, we've had sanctuary cities. We've had no-go zones in the United States already. I mean, it's easy to see what's leading up to. And it's mainly because everyone is so divided. And the government, the media, the rulers have done this on purpose. They kept everyone divided on racial issues, by skin color, by gender, sexual orientation, religion, locations that they live. I mean, everyone's divided in every way they possibly can be. And it's been on purpose to keep everyone weaker and to make the people more easily to conquer. But eventually, the divide is going to get so wide that violence is definitely going to widespread violence is going to erupt. And that will end up leading to revolution, and you will have different locations balkanized in the United States. Different people with different beliefs living in different locations, and more than likely, like I said, those different people in different locations with different beliefs will be warring against each other for resource wars, because it takes a lot of resources to keep up and support, these areas. And certain areas may not have enough resources, or enough of certain resources. So you have different tribes, different tribes and different factions fighting for territory, fighting for resources. That's what I see happening, guys. Hopefully I'm totally wrong, but with this divide we have, it's pretty obvious to me. Know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Backhoe. It's what I need. It's a good backhoe. You never know when you're going to have to dig a big hole in the ground and put something in it. Having a backhoe make it a lot quicker and easier. Anyway, comment below and know what you think. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that. Give the video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. In the Creekmore. I'll see you all in the next video. Hopefully.